The base of the television rattled the glass counter inside the shop. On the screen, a politician stood at a podium, his voice booming about open borders and national unity. Donovan paused his machine. The needle hovered, silent, over the client's skin. He glanced at the screen, then turned his head toward the window. Outside, the township street told a different story. A massive pile of rotting vegetable waste choked the gutter, spilling onto the pavement. It forced pedestrians to veer into the path of oncoming traffic. Donovan looked back at his shop floor. He scrubbed the tiles every morning to meet health codes. He paid his taxes. He registered his business. Yet, just inches beyond his glass front, an unregulated market operated with total impunity. The politician on the screen continued to preach, his words polished and detached. Donovan wiped his hands on a rag, his jaw tight. He watched a stray dog pick through the refuse heap, scattering debris across the sidewalk. The contrast was absolute. Inside, the world was ordered, sterile, and compliant. Outside, the foundation of the neighborhood was crumbling. He stared at the screen, then at the street. Donovan turned back to his client, Thabo, his movements sharp and deliberate. He gestured toward the window where the market stalls blocked the view of the road. "They talk about open borders from behind high walls," Donovan said, his voice low but cutting through the hum of the shop. "They preach unity while we live in the mess they choose to ignore." Thabo shifted in the chair, eyes tracking the movement of a vendor outside. Donovan picked up his machine, but he did not start it. He leaned over the counter, pointing at the politician on the television. "It is not about hate," Donovan continued, his jaw set hard. "It is about the basic fairness of a functioning state. I pay my taxes. I follow the health codes. I keep my space clean so that my neighbors have a place they can trust. But look at that." He pointed to the pile of waste again. "The law applies to me, but it does not apply to them. The system is broken because it rewards the lawless and punishes the ones who build the foundation." Donovan sighed, the frustration settling into a cold, hard resolve. He was angry at the illusion of order that the state sold to the public. The letter arrived in a crisp, white envelope that felt too heavy for the news it carried. Donovan sat in his small office, the silence of the shop replaced by the hum of a ceiling fan. Across from him, the consultant did not look up as he slid the rejection notice across the desk. The words were clinical, cold, and final. Application denied. Donovan felt the air leave the room. He looked at the consultant, who finally met his gaze with a look of weary apology. "It is not your work, Donovan," the man said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Your identity is compromised." He explained the mechanism of the rot. Criminal syndicates were bribing officials to manufacture legitimate passports, flooding the international market with fraudulent documents. Because the borders were porous, the world now viewed every citizen of the country as a security risk. "You are a prisoner in your own land," the consultant added. He stood up, the chair scraping sharply against the floor. The frustration that had simmered for weeks now hardened into a cold, sharp resolve. The mall parking lot was a sea of bodies and chanting voices. Donovan moved through the throng, his shoulders bracing against the press of the crowd. He did not stop until he reached the metal barricades at the front. The politician stood on the stage, his voice booming through the speakers. When the moderator opened the floor for questions, Donovan reached up and gripped the microphone stand. He pulled it toward him with a sharp, decisive motion. The surrounding noise died down, replaced by a sudden, expectant silence. Donovan raised his hands, his fingers dark with the permanent marks of his trade. He looked directly at the man on the stage. "Commander," Donovan said, his voice steady, "I am a tax-paying youth. My doors have always been open to our neighbors." He gestured toward the perimeter of the mall, where the streets were choked with waste. "When our identity documents are sold to criminals, who protects the citizens? I am denied a visa to grow my business because our government cannot secure its own borders. Is it fair that the system prioritizes everyone except those who build this country?" A ripple of applause started from the back, growing into a low, rumbling roar. Donovan did not lower his hands. He stood his ground, waiting for an answer. The roar of the crowd surged, a wave of sound that drowned out the politician's attempt to regain control. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The rehearsed script had no answer for the reality of the street. He looked at the faces around him, then back at the man who had challenged him. He stepped back, his posture collapsing. Donovan remained at the microphone, his grip firm. He did not look for victory, he looked for change. The silence that followed the politician's retreat was different. It was heavy, expectant, and sharp. Donovan lowered his hands, the ink-stained skin catching the afternoon light. He looked out at the sea of people, then toward the horizon where the city's skyline waited. It was time for the country to stop hiding behind empty slogans. He turned and walked off the stage, leaving the space open for a new reality. The foundation had to be secured.